Today we're going to learn about the art of foil embossing, otherwise known as repousse. Repousse is a French term that literally means pushed up. So we will be using various tools to push up the aluminum, as well as using another technique called chasing, which means to push down. So we will be manipulating the foil from both sides to create desired textures and designs. The tools that we'll be using are going to be a foam sheet, just a standard thickness foam sheet to go underneath our foil as we're working. We'll also be using a crochet hook and some various tools for the embossing. Okay, let's get started. So, using some of these basic tools, I'm just going to use a couple of these different ones. We're going to use a pointy tool, a rounded tool, and a fine tool to basically define our areas. So let me show you what these do, just basically. Alright, this ball tool is good for drawing. You can draw a simple design in it, and notice that it pushes in the foil on one side, and on the opposite side it pushes it out. That is why we'll be using both sides of our foil, flipping it back and forth to create desired looks. Now, this particular set of tools has a metal edge on one side and a plastic edge on the other side, and the plastic edge has various, this one is a pointy one, this one is a rounded one, this is a flat edge basically. Okay, now the rounded tool basically creates kind of a wide line. There's another one that has kind of a point. This is also good for creating just fine lines. The imprint that it makes is a finer line, a smaller line as compared to the ball tip, for more precise design. This other one is fun. It's basically rounded on the edge like this, and it's almost good kind of like for stamping circles. Now there's some neat things you can do with this. We can leave it like that, but that's kind of plain and boring. If I wanted to enhance this more, I could flip it over, and then on the inside of these circles I can take my ball tip, kind of go around in circles, and it presses it forward. Now, one thing that we have noticed about this particular tool is that if you press too hard on it, then it actually will go completely through the surface, making a hole. So you kind of have to know the limits of your plastic and how much pressure it can take whenever you work on manipulating it. Now, I like using the plastic needling tool or knitting tool, because that allows you to really do some denting into the surface. Now basically we're playing with the plasticity of the metal, manipulating the metal forwards and backwards in order to push it up and push it down. Now here I have a sunken hole. You can see it from the side here, it is raised. Okay, so here you have to think through your design and think, what do you want raised and what do you want sunken? I could come next to this and create a sunken hole. Okay, now one thing that you'll notice about this particular metal, we're using aluminum, crafter's grade aluminum. It will break after a certain point, so you can only manipulate it so far before the metal weakens and it breaks through. Now the other set of tools we have are rolly tools. And these, there are many different kinds here. They're a lot of fun though. I'll get out 3 in particular that we can try. This one is a circle with a flat edge, so it is simply going to do just a pure line. Okay? The next one is going to be a scalloped edge, and when I roll it, it creates a scalloped line, but is a pure line. This one has a serrated edge, and so when I roll along here, it actually creates a series of dots. You can see the dotted edge basically. Okay, now I can use these tools. I could use the flat one to create a crisscross pattern like this. That's very interesting. Now I could either leave it at that simple crisscross pattern, or I could continue to work on it, coming back with either my ball tool here and enhance these, maybe every other one, so that it stood out more, like this. Then when I flip it over, some of these have been enhanced. Now, if I'm working and it pushes up too far, I can come back with this tool and I can press it back down and get back to my original design. Now, the one other thing that is fun to use are these texture plates from Fiskars. Okay, and we ordered these several years ago, so I'm not exactly sure whether they still make them or not. If they do, they are a lot of fun to use. They're two-sided, lots and lots of different textures. So the way that this works, we're going to use this spider one. The way that this works is you place the metal on top of it, and the way that I have found works the best is if you hold this in place very, very snugly, very, very tightly, because you do not want the metal to move on top of the texture plate. If you'll take your needle tool and press back and forth in your desired area, do not move your metal, and then take your ball tool, then you can come back and you can even further enhance this texture. And I'll show you one side that has been enhanced, and you'll see the other side. The other side, the texture does still show up, but it's just not as strong of a texture. These are a lot of fun, and they really, really create a unique look and texture to whatever design you're doing. All right, so here you can see the texture has still been applied on here, but when I flip it over, you can see that the texture stands out and is cleaner on this side versus on this side. The lines are not nice and straight instead of being kind of bumpy like this. So those are fun things that you can do with the foil embossing. Always be careful of your edges, because the edges are very, very sharp. They will cut you and it will hurt, so please be careful with those. Sometimes you might even want to just put a little clear piece of tape over the edges so that it doesn't cut you as you're working on your piece.